Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon everyone, welcome to another Club 100 video. As you can see, we're out on track straight away because this was a practice session leading into the first heat and it was good fun, so I thought I'd share it. The main reason I'm sharing it is because I had a really good battle with Philip Babulal, who you can see in front of me. Nice send up into paddock, but he goes off track to hold onto the position, which to be fair is fair enough because I went for a bit of a sketchy move. And then my battle with Philip continued. I sent it up his inside, completely outbraked myself. But this was really fun because as Rory O'Regan gets past me as well, I was like, oh, Rory, I can sit behind him. For those of you who don't know, Rory is the junior champion who's moved up to seniors this year and has been absolutely on fire. Possibly going to be senior champion next year, judging by how quick he's been in like the 4 races he's done this year. So Rory goes up the inside of Philip and I'm like, right, thanks for that, Rory, I'll follow you through and just try to stick with him. But Philip's one of the lads that I used to commentate on back at Daytona Milton Keynes, so it was quite fun to be able to battle with him in Club 100, even if it was only for practice. But yeah, it is the 3 laps of practice before heat 1 and I'm behind Rory. I'm going to send it up his inside. I'm like, sorry Rory, I know you've been winning heats, but that's because I wasn't around. So little send up the inside. I am number one, and if we want to quote the Dictator banger movie. So I was like, right, I feel good in my car. I've overtaken Rory. Yeah, we're ready to go. We're starting this race in 9th place and it was live streamed. So we've got a picture-in-picture of the live stream. I'm on the inside. I need to make sure I can hold my kart to the inside. There's a bit of loading and I get squeezed a little bit wide, which means I don't have the inside now going into this corner. And I then get hit. I get hit, I go wide, and I can't rejoin the circuit, so I've got to back out. All of these drivers go past me, so I'm going to try to find my way back up the inside, sending it up the inside into the next hairpin. But again, I get squeezed off, and you can see me in the picture-in-picture. I'm like 3rd from last now. I've gone from 9th to like 14th of the opening lap, and I'm just thinking, are you kidding me? I was in like 5th coming out of turn 1, and now I've dropped down the order, and I was just so gutted. But at the same time, I'm not racing in the championship, so I was also thinking this could be a really fun race, trying to climb up through the field now. So let's see what we can do really. And to be fair, it was a very fun race. So going into turn 1, George Lawler, he bottles turn 1. We get turn 1 right. We're going to get 2 places in 1 corner. That's what we want to see to start the second lap. And I have to be really decisive, right? I can't wait around. I can't, try to do, sit behind. I try to get the run out of the hairpin. There's a bit of contact as I try to keep it pinned, but it doesn't work. I think that's Ben Pickard. And now I'm thinking, right, okay, I need to send it up the inside, but he goes a bit defensive. So instead I'm thinking, try to get the exit. I don't quite get the best of exits, but I'm still close enough to go for a move up the inside. Again, not the best of moves. I should have got the exit out of paddock a lot better. That was a bit sketchy. But now I've lost so much time to the group ahead because of that. And yeah, I think I've not done sprints in a while. I kind of forgot how I need to overtake people, and that overtake on Ben Pickard, the whole 3-4 corners wasn't it. And now on lap 4, so a lap later, we've caught up to this group of karts. So essentially, it's been a whole lap that I've wasted. And now I've got to try to get back through, and you can see just how much I'm catching going through Sime Sweep and Pullman's a good exit coming out of paddock, and I'm thinking, right, go for the send. However, Northcott's going to go up the inside, but it's not the perfect block pass because I can't follow him through. So it's a really good overtake for Northcott because I can't follow him through. And yeah, that's essentially another lap wasted, and because I didn't push Orange Helmet along, I'm not with him. However, they battle, and I'm like, alright guys, if you want to do that, I'll just take the pair of you. Thank you very much. So yeah, we've gained another position. I think I'm into 9th place now or something like that. And now I need to try to get my head down and catch up to Mr. Fraser Brunton up ahead and moving on to the very next lap. This is lap 6. This was my fast lap of the heat, my fast lap of the day. I missed the first apex and the second apex by a bit. You want to get those 2 apexes, so probably another 10th in the lap. Nice early apex into hairpin 1, use all of the track, instantly pull the car back over, and then send it in. You want to get both apexes, but you want to get the second apex more than the first apex through hairpin 2. Completely flat, and this, the tyre stack had been pushed in. I use all of the red stuff going into this chicane, and then, yeah, just completely cut Pullman's, or sign, yes, Pullman's early apex heading down into paddock, and then use a bit of the red paint, and this time I absolutely nailed the guard. I got such a good exit coming out of the corner. If I could do that every single lap of my life, I would take that in a heartbeat, because there was no, like, dropping of revs. That it just fired out of the corner really, really well on that lap. And that time around, I actually got turn 1 pretty well. But going on to the last lap of the race now, the guys ahead are starting to battle, and that was the only reason I was able to catch up. And this is a battle that goes all the way up to, like, 3rd. And I was gutted, because I knew I should have been at the front of that train from the start of the race. So, and I had the pace to catch them. I would have had the pace to pull away from them. So it's just annoying how the opening lap went, but I get a good run on Tommy Lee. He doesn't expect me to be there, so I send it up the inside, and I make sure that there's no room for him on corner exit. If I had another lap, I might have been able to get another position, and then another position after that, but there's only 9 laps, and it was a recovery drive to, I think, 8th or 9th. Rory had a 6th place penalty, so he dropped behind me, and I got promoted to either 8th or 7th. So I finished 8th or 9th in this race, but not the best first heats. And this is the incident. So you can see the driver in the white helmet. He locks up, he goes sideways, he hits me, and then you can see I just go completely wide coming out of the corner. Everyone gets past me, and then I've essentially got nowhere to go. George Lawler gives me a squeeze, which he's perfectly entitled to do. I would have done the same in his position, but I dropped to, well, pretty much the back. At that point, there's only 1-2 people behind me. So moving into my second heat, yeah, I was starting on the inside. I was down in P11, I think, for this one, and I'm starting behind good old Steph Theodoru. But have a look at my right foot. I go fully on the throttle now, and I get capped. And this is the point where I realise I've got a terrible kart. So good luck, Milky. You have to try to do what you can with this kart. We get a really good run through turn 1. Stop the count, because we've gained a few positions. So I'm just going to try to follow Steph through. He goes up the inside of Rihanna, and I'm able to cover off the inside, which is fine. But you can see just how bad of a run I get out of the corner. I mean, I know I went defensive, but it shouldn't have been that bad of a run, but that's the car I'm racing with. So this race is going to be all about keeping up my minimum speed, and yeah, and you can see just how much I catch up to Steph, because he completely bottles that sequence of corners. But because of that, I have to back off because Steph's in front of me. That gives an opportunity for Rihanna to overtake me, but I'm not too miffed about that because Rihanna's a quick driver. So I'm thinking, right, I can sit behind Rihanna and hopefully she can pull me along and I can try to follow her through on some of the overtakes. However, she goes for slow and fast out. I go for like mid-speed all the way through, and because I've got a slightly slower car, I don't quite get the drive relative to her, and she's gone. That's it. 2 corners, and now I've got to go defensive into this hairpin to stop someone else from getting past me, and the gap just opens up even more. So yeah, considering my fast lap in the previous heat was a 46.7, in this heat my fast lap was a 47.4, so yeah, you're talking about 7/10 slower, and I had a toe in this heat as well. Sorry, my fastest in the previous heat was, yeah, it was a 46.7. But yeah, you can see the gap that they've pulled already to me, and I'm just trying to get my head down. And to be honest, I was really glad that I could get into this race. I got a spot for this round literally at the last second on the day, and I kind of told myself, right, when I do my video, I'm not going to complain about anything, but I will always say things as they are. I got a good kart for the first heat, not a rocket ship or anything, but a good kart. This one though wasn't it, and you always get those karts in Club 100, right? It's not a thing of like, oh, I'm really unlucky. It's, yeah, I've got this one bad kart for one heat. I need to do what I can with it, right? Damage limitation. You have to try to learn how to drive around the problems of the car, and we've kind of done that because we've kept up, or we've caught back up to the group ahead. And this is where I realised something. I've got an iffy kart, but Steph has a really bad kart at top end. Look how much I'm catching him. But I'm thinking I'm going to push him along, right? I don't want to try to send him because I know Steph. Steph and I, we've had so many battles, aggressive battles. And I know that if I go for a move, he's going to fight me back and we're going to lose time. So I'm like, I'll just sit behind Steph. I'll help him along. Hey, Steph, I'm a change driver. And then this guy goes up by inside. So I try to get a switch back. It doesn't work. And you can see how much he's kind of pulled through the S's. But I know I'm quicker heading downhill. I carry more speed into the right, less speed into the left. But I just get this this right-hander a lot better But again, I'm just not quite close enough to go for the send. Steph's gone for an overtake, and I'm too far back to follow through. So that's unfortunate. But again, I need to see what I can do. I'm going to give Mr. Chapman a little push. Hopefully he goes for a move and I can follow through, but he pushes Josh Wood along and goes up the inside of Steph. So Steph can't go through. Sorry, Steph, that wasn't what I was trying to do. But I'm going to push Mr. Chapman through. He gets through, but I'm now on the outside. So I've got to leave room for Josh Wood on corner exit. But I'm on the outside now, so I have to back out. We're not allowed to go two abreast through that corner. And I don't really want to go into a tyre barrier and risk it. So it is what it is. I get a good run though coming out of this corner, and I'm thinking, right, I've got to go for the send. I do go for the send, but again, yeah, I'm not happy with that move. I think that move probably should have been a bump and pass, or at the very least a contact warning, or track limits, because I hit the cones as well. So it should have been kind of everything. I got a good run, and then Steph goes up my inside. He pokes his nose, so I slammed the door shut on him because I'm like, you can't just poke your front nose in. As a result, I get a bad exit. Steph goes up my inside, and Matthew Clark goes up my inside. I'm like, Steph, that's not how you overtake, buddy. But yeah, it worked for him, and then I don't quite get the drive coming out of hairpin 2 for reasons that we shall not talk about. But yeah, I'm like, okay, it's chill, right? Steph's through, that's fine. Steph's got a bad car at top end, so I can push him through that top end. That's fine, and maybe we can catch back up to Mr. Northcott. So yeah, let's work with Steph. It's going to be like something brand new. So here we go then. We're going to push Steph along, and we give him a nice push, and then he goes defensive. Steph, I'm trying to work with you here, buddy. But Steph doesn't trust me, unfortunately. And now that means that Matthew Clark goes up my inside. So I'm like, Steph, if I get the chance, I'm sending you, because yeah, I hate you now. And now Andrew McWilliam goes through, and he says, let's go through the field. And to be honest, on another day, I'd overtake him. But because he was fighting for a championship, he was literally leading the championship coming into this round, I was like, I'm not going to ruin your day, buddy. I was very tempted here just to send him from a car then back into this corner and just piss him off. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And yeah, you can just see how far I've fallen back. So yeah, we're far back and moving on to the final lap of the race. These guys are battling like absolute, well, not really like maniacs. So I'm going to push Andrew through. I'm like, go on, Andrew, send it. I want to see what you do. He tries to go around the outside of Matthew Clark. He turns into him. I'm like, Andrew, you're an absolute idiot. So I'll take both of you. They then both got my inside, and I can't get the switch back because this guy shows up. I'm salty about that. So I go around the outside of Matthew Clark, heading into Simon Sweet. I'm like, right, I need to get the exit into this corner, but I just don't carry the speed. I'm too far back. I can't send this guy into Garda. And I'm very sad. Matthew Clark goes up my inside into Garda. That's why I had to take the wide line, but we hold on to the position. And yeah, just a frustrating race. So we ended up finishing this race in 9th, which means I've had an 8th and a 9th, or 2 9ths, which is terrible in terms of heats for an A final. Because if I got another 9th, I'd be starting the B final. So yeah, after this race, I was a bit frustrated. Douglas Smith then had this car, and he thought this car was okay. Douglas, you have no idea what you're talking about with cars, because that car was awful. So here we go then. Next heat we're starting in 4th. Now, I'd been told before this heat that the guy starting alongside me, Josh Wood, had a rocket ship. And he did have a rocket ship because Harrison Quickham went 4 tenths quicker than anything else. And that's a great nickname for Harrison. Harrison, you're taking that nickname, Harrison Quickham. So I knew that Josh Wood was going to be my main competitor. I'm usually a bit quicker than him, but he's got a car that's probably about half a second quicker than anyone else. So I need to do what I can starting from the outside. James Whittaker's in front of me, a very quick driver. So let's see what we can do. We've got the picture-in-picture as well. I'm going to go to the outside and then try to switch to the inside. We're behind Josh Wood now. And have a look at Josh Wood's car coming out of these hairpins. Just look at him go. Watch that. Watch that. That is absolutely disgusting. And then through this hairpin as well, he's just gone. That car was ridiculous. And I'm thinking, right, if I can get second in this race, that might be good. But yeah, it's a long race. Well, it's not a long race, it's 9 laps. So let's see what I can do. We get a good run coming out. Just look at that car go. Yeah. Oh, he makes contact with Philip, so we're going to push Josh along. He doesn't really need a push. But I'm just thinking, Josh has the rocket. He's the driver that I need to work with. We're behind Philip now, so let's see what we can do. Going to use more track than Philip going into turn 1. Hopefully that allows us to get the power early. He's actually going to go up the inside of Josh. Good job, Philip. And now I'm ahead of Josh, who I thought was going to be my main competitor for this race. Do I go for a send into this corner? Yes, we do, up the inside. We're now up into second place, and we've critically got a driver between myself and Josh. In fact, we've got 2 drivers, so this is exactly what I needed. So now I just need to get my head down and try to catch up to Mr. Matthew Clark, and you can see just how much I gain at the end of Sector 2. And coming out of Garda, we are pretty much on his tail, a couple of kart lengths back. Again, this kart was okay. It wasn't as good as my kart in Heat 1, but it was a solid kart. I can't really complain about it. But I've done what I needed to do, which is get into clear air, and this is where I'm good in clean air. I think the crazy scraps that happen in sprints, I'm a little bit sketchy on those, especially considering I've only done 2 sprint rounds this season. But yeah, we're right behind Mr. Matthew Clark, and I'm worried because I know Josh Wood's going to be coming through the field, and I'm thinking I cannot waste any time. I don't want to work with Matthew because I'm a lot quicker than him, and I know I'm quicker because I'm just quicker through this section. So I go for a send up the inside. I kind of missed the apex a bit. I'm not too happy with that overtake. Matthew's quite upset. I don't think it was an illegal overtake, but I would have preferred to have made the apex, you know. And after that, nothing happened. Yeah, we just continued to lead. In the end, it was actually Miles Reitman who was flying through the field. He started in on like 14 and ended up finishing this race in second. But literally my last heat race of the year, the final sprint heat of the year of Club 100, I win. So I'm just letting everyone know that, you know, I am the best sprints driver out there because I won my last heat. Yeah, I know Fraser and Rory and all of those guys weren't in this, but does it matter? No. So moving on to the finals. I thought I'd show practice. This is not the race. And we're going to play a game. Should Milky bin this kart? Because this is the most stressful part of the final, of the A final. You have to try to figure out if your kart is good. If it's good, you stay in your kart. If it's bad, you come in the pits. So have a look at my kart, guys. Try to figure out, if you were in my position, would you switch this kart? And I'm behind Ed Bars. Ed Bars is a quick driver. So usually if I can stick with him, I'm fairly happy with it. But I was really on the fence about this kart on whether I should change it or not. And seeing Ed pull away like that out of the corner, I was like, I didn't get a good run out of the corner, so that's why he got a better exit. But was it enough to justify pulling away that much? So I was thinking about bringing in my kart now, but I was like, I need to stay behind. I completely get turn 1 wrong, so I'm like, I know I've dropped back because of that. I get, I think, a better run into turn 1. I think the earlier apex is better than the late apex, and I don't know. I was just so on the fence about this car, and I'm thinking, I'm not losing to Ed, and Ed's a quick driver, so do I stay in this car? But then I'm also thinking, my rule nowadays is if anyone pulls away from me, I change the car. I go into every single race thinking I'm the quickest driver out there. So if I'm not catching up to you, I put it on the car, unless I'm driving really badly. But that's my essential logic to changing cars. And then going into turn 1, I don't think I got a bad run out of Garda, but Sam Lovelace goes up my inside. And if someone overtakes you into turn 1 like that, I'm just thinking, yeah, okay. Either Sam's got a rocket ship, or I've got a bad car, and considering I was a bit on the fence with it, I'd rather change the car. So I changed the car. Let me know in the comments if you think that was a sensible decision, because once I got into this new car and I was behind Dan Seeger, who's also a quick driver, I mean, he's not, he's falling, he's a bit washed, I get a way better run. Like, my car just powers through. I'm like, oh my god, did I just pull the rocket ship and then out of Garda as well? I'm like, this is a go-kart. This is, at this point I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to win the A5. I pulled the rocket ship that Josh Wood had in Heat 12, and I was just thinking, right, I'm absolutely going to demolish everyone. Oops, sorry, I hit my microphone. So yeah, I was just thinking, right, I've won the A final. And genuinely, that was my thought going into this. I had a big smile on my face. I was like, no one's going to expect milky cereal in the rocket ship. This is going to be fun. And I'm starting this race in 11th, so it's not good. Yeah, considering that you've got 4 drivers battling for the championship, they're going to be fighting hard. So I knew that I had a really good opportunity, and we are ready to go racing. So let us see what we can do. We got the tyres warmed up, we've got the kart warmed up, we're ready to go racing. It's going to be a longer race than the heat, and I just need to keep my head down. I've got a good kart, so it's not going to be decided on the first lap. I just need to not bottle this. Inside always gets away much better than the outside. We're going to keep it tight, but not quite as tight as the Fraser does. Bit of contact with Mr. Sam Lovelace, but I'm just going to back out. I'm like, I've got this. We're going to come back through as the race progresses. Ed gets through as well, and now I've got another driver on my inside. I'm going to fall behind Lewis Marchant. And right, we're through the opening lap. We've lost a couple of places possibly, but it's no real biggie. Now we just need to work our way up through the field. Lewis goes a bit defensive, and I don't brake late, but I put myself into a weird position. And then everyone pulls away from me coming out of Garda, and this was the point where I started to realise, hang on, maybe I don't have a rocket ship. Maybe Dan Seeger just had an absolute tractor. Because the amount that these guys pulled away from me coming out of Garda was absolutely bananas. So I'm like, right, head down, I need to do what I can. I've now lost faith in my car, and I'm no longer thinking I can win this race. I'm just thinking, right, damage limitation, let's just get a good result, because yeah, this is going to be a tricky race. And this lap is a 47.4. I don't think I've made any particular mistakes on this lap, so this has been an okay lap. And I think if I'm going to do an okay lap, the lap should be at least like 47.1. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like an amazing lap, but it was a little bit off. And this lap is a 47.1. Again, it's a good lap. We get the apexes through the opening corner, and again, I'm just trying to get my head down, trying to push. I prefer taking an early apex because it's a short run to hairpin 2, and then through hairpin 2, like a mid first apex, and then make the second apex. But have a look at how much I'm going to catch these guys heading down the hill. It's just ridiculous. I was gaining like 2-3 tenths lap on the group in front just through that sequence of corners. Only to then go through Garda and they just pull away from me. Like, I'm usually the driver who always goes through Garda very early on the power coming out of the corner, and I was just getting bad exits. So yeah, maybe I was taking the corner badly, but I just think the absolute bottom end of this car wasn't there. But we've closed into Mr. Lewis Marchant, who is going to go side by side with Mr. Red Suit. So we're going to push Mr. Red Suit along. These are battling for second in the C2 class. I've got to back out because I can't go too abreast into that corner, and I don't want to kill Lewis. Lewis is a nice guy, although he did beat me on the previous day. Actually, no, he didn't beat me on the previous day. I'll show the footage. There's a yellow flag, so I can't go for ascend, but I can go for ascend here. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to sit behind. Didn't quite get the drive, and again, they're going to pull away. So again, I think this A final was just damage limitation. It's always a little bit frustrating, but you've got to make do with what you're given. You've got to drive around the issues, and I don't think I was driving around this car very well. And then I get punted going into hairpin 1, and now this driver's alongside me on the right, so I've got to go up the inside, and all of that hard work to catch up to Lewis to get onto his bumper down the drain. So yeah, lap 6, we're now a second behind. But moving forward to lap 9, we have caught back up again, and yeah, now just try to overtake, see what we can do. Again, I don't think I'm in a position to overtake, but Lewis is going to send it up the inside of Mr. Red Suit. He's going to push him a little bit wide. Thank you, Lewis. Love you, buddy. And we're going to be able to follow through. Can you do that on the next driver as well for me, Lewis? But yeah, I just want to include this bit because Lewis is in clean air, and this is how much quicker we are than Mr. Lewis Marchant. I'm only including this because we were memeing at dinner the other day about how I included him on TikToks. And here we go, lap 12, 46.7, my fastest lap of the race. And to be honest, considering if I did a 46.7 with this car, this must have been a pretty darn good lap. A nice early apex. I've got a bit of a toe as well from Mr. Marchant, and I don't completely muller the second part of the curve because I want to keep up my minimum speed, open up the steering as much as possible. Completely flat, going down into this right-hander, and then a bit of power braking really. Early on the brakes, get a nice early apex, use all of the track. Use the red stuff going into this right-hander, get the apex, and be like, Lewis, please give me slipstream on the run up to the line. So this was probably my best lap of the day. Probably a little bit quicker than what I did in Heat 1 because I think my Heat 1 car was a bit better than this car. But in Heat 1 I did it without a toe. Moving on though to lap 13, I am on the back of Lewis. He gets very hot into the left and kind of compromises himself into paddock. I'm like, you know what, I'll just send it up the inside. Lewis leaves room. I try to squeeze him, but he hangs it in there. And then Lewis gives me a finger wag. I'm like, Lewis, you can't give me a finger wag like that, son. Let me show you now how I overtake you. But to be honest, I couldn't actually keep up with him. I didn't have another opportunity until now, the penultimate lap of the race, and everyone's fighting like crazy because Rory O'Regan is being interesting, let's say. For those of you who don't know the drama, you can go and watch the actual race. But no, Rory was absolutely rapid. He got to the front and then he decided to white line it and defend to make things interesting, which helped me massively. And I overtook about 4 people into hairpin 1. I had a little skerfuffle with Ed Bars. I had to hang around the outside of the left and we left each other room. And I messed up paddock. And because of that, I wasn't close enough to Miles to go for a send into Garda. So instead, I tried to get the exit, but I'm not getting the exit. So at this point, I think I was in 6th place. I think I'm in 6th. So I was like, right, see what I can do. If I can get a good run, I can get Miles at the end of this lap. But I miss hairpin 1 by a little bit. Ed's on my bumper, so I go a bit defensive into this corner. Because I'm going defensive, I take a tighter line. I get an even worse exit than normal, and I don't defend into hairpin 2 like an absolute wally. Ed sends it up my inside, and I've got a lift, slot in behind him. I'm like, well, that's it, that's done. We've dropped down to 7th. I just need to make sure now that I don't drop down to 8th. So I think the maximum I could have done in this race was 6th, if 5th, if I hadn't messed up that corner and then sent Miles. But I don't know if I could have done much better than 5th in this race. But yeah, that brings my race to a close. Congrats to Rory for winning the A final. Congrats to Andrew McWilliam for winning the championship, and congrats to me for spending more money to go Club 100 racing. We've got one more video after this to come, which is going to be my SP60. It was a photo finish. It was amazing, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel because it was a race in the wet and I was fast in the wet. I want to race in the wet. I mean, it's insane. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and see you all in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.